Welcome everyone to this NXT Takeover review. Yes, I know it's very rare that I actually talk about NXT. But as you guys have seen my reviews in the past, I tend to only do takeover events. I haven't really been interested in the NXT episodes that have been airing in Australia lately. I feel like NXT hasn't really been all that great. That's why I haven't really been watching any of the episodes. So, in today's NXT Takeover, it was okay. I personally didn't really find anything. I personally really didn't enjoy this NXT Takeover. It was a good show. I'm not saying it was bad, but I really wasn't jumping out of my chair or not really out of my chair, out of my bed and getting excited like I normally would. I did a couple of oohs and oohs. I did a couple of those, but nothing really exciting happened. Well, maybe other than the main event, because that kind of was surprising. But I personally found this NXT takeover, in my personal opinion, I found this as one of the worst NXT takeovers. Not taking anything away from the talent in the ring, they did their part, but I honestly felt like this really wasn't a good takeover. I felt like it was the weakest one of the bunch. So, we started off with a 6-woman's tag. It was Shotzi Blackheart, Mia Yim, and Tegan Nox versus Rachel Gonzalez, Dakota Kai, and Candice LeRae. And the babyface team would get the win. Tegan Nox would pin Dakota Kai. Her former friend, she would end up pinning her. So, yeah, that match happened and it was alright. It was a good match. All 6 of them, all 6 of those girls in there. You know, Shotzi's good. I don't mind her. Tegan, nah, she's meh to me. She's okay. I don't really mind her. Mia Yim I've always been meh on Mia Yim. Not really sure how I feel about her sometimes. Sometimes she's good, sometimes she's meh. Rachel Gonzalez, I don't really like her all that much. I think she's not that great. Dakota Kai, I really like. And Candice LeRae is, well, boring. Candice LeRae is boring. She should honestly just change her name to Candice Gargano. She's so boring and so stale, just like her husband. It's not even funny. It's not even funny. Candice is a great wrestler. I'm not taking anything away from her in-ring ability, but she's just boring to me. She's just boring. She really hasn't done anything. She just really hasn't done anything exciting on NXT. I'm sorry. I just find her boring. I find her character boring, but her as an in-ring talent, she's still great and all, but I just think she's boring. I'm sorry if I broke anybody's hearts there. Next we had Finn Balor taking on Damian Priest. He'll be making sure he'll be going to a church and looking for a priest very soon, Mr. Damian Priest. And I thought this show was all about creating new stars, and I'm not trying to be negative here, but Finn Balor defeating Damian Priest does nothing. It does nothing for Finn Balor. It was a good match, but I don't think this does anything for Finn Balor. I always looked at NXT as a show where you'd want to build up new stars and create some new ones, and I thought Damian Priest could have been one of those people that you could build up, but unfortunately maybe Damian Priest isn't ready. I'm not going to say Damian Priest was garbage, but I'm just going to straight up say I don't think I really like him all that much. I don't think his ring style's for me. He reminds me way too much of Baron Corbin when Baron Corbin had hair. He kind of looks like Baron Corbin, and he kind of has a gimmick kind of similar to Baron Corbin. So, that's just my personal opinion anyway. I'm not a big fan of Mr. Priest. Maybe if I watch his matches more, maybe I'd get into him more. But at this point in time, can't really say I'm a fan of Mr. Priest. So Finn Balor would get the win there. Next we had Keith Lee. Bask in his glory. Oh, bask in his glory. Taking on the man that has all heart and no soul. The Gargano way. Johnny Stale, as I call this guy. And I'm sorry. That's, in my opinion, it's true. Johnny Gargano is so stale on NXT. I sound like a broken record every time I talk about this when it comes to an NXT Takeover review. But I'm not going to bother this time because I know it's not going to happen. I'm basically just going to say it again. I just wish this guy would be off NXT and on the main roster. Because what else does this guy have to achieve? What else is this guy going to do? As far as what I was told, he doesn't want to go up on the main roster because of how he would be booked. I mean, let's be honest. The way NXT has been booking him is kind of the way main roster would book him. Don't lie to me. That's exactly how... Look at how NXT has booked him from this point on. At every takeover, this guy has lost. That's exactly how WWE probably would have booked him on the main roster. He'd put on a hell of a fight, but he would end up losing. I don't get why he and Candice LeRae just can't go up to the main roster. They're stale. Both of them. They're both so stale, they need a change. Being in NXT for your whole career isn't going to make you change. At least in my opinion, it's not. I know Vince doesn't like those vanilla kind of midget kind of wrestlers. I know Vince isn't a big fan of them. But surely with Paul Heyman and maybe Triple H influencing in the background, maybe Johnny would have a chance. Maybe Paul Heyman can take a liking to Mr. Gargano. You know, Paul Heyman would take a liking to him. Triple H, you know, he's there on the main roster. I think he helps out with the main roster every now and then. You would think Triple H would get in Vince's ear every now and then to give him a chance. I know it's not going to happen because Gargano never will move up to the main roster. Probably the day Gargano moves up to the main roster is probably the day Triple H full-on takes over. And that'll probably be long until he and Ciampa have retired. He and Ciampa probably would have been long retired by then. But man, I can't get into Gargano as a heel. I can't get into Candice as a heel. To me, they're both boring. And this match, I really didn't enjoy this match at all. I did not enjoy this North American Championship match. I thought it was slow. I thought it was boring. It just wasn't doing anything for me. In the back of my mind, I was thinking, you know, Johnny is probably going to win because, you know, he recently turned heel. And this is another thing. This is another main roster trope. When someone recently turns heel or babyface, their momentum gets squandered right away. Johnny Gargano recently turned heel, and what happens? He ends up losing this match. This is a Vince McMahon booking. This is a Vince McMahon booking decision right here. Johnny Gargano would lose recently after his heel turn. Not saying Keith Lee doesn't deserve to be the North American champion. He absolutely deserves to be the champion. Keith Lee is fantastic. He is a phenomenal wrestler. For a guy his size, he is very, very good. But if you look at it storyline terms, why did Keith Lee win? What was the point in him winning? Why did Gargano take a clean loss? You even had Candice LeRae and Mia Yim run in this match. You even had them do a run-in, and that really caused nothing. That did nothing. The run-in did nothing for Candice, and it did nothing for Mia Yim. So what was the point? I didn't really find the point of the run-in. I felt like the point of the run-in would have been enough to help Johnny Gargano win, and it didn't. Johnny Gargano, raked keys into Keith Lee's eyeballs, and he flattened him, and it still wasn't enough. So even with outside interference, and with keys, with car keys, Johnny Gargano still could not beat Keith Lee. That really does show you, huh? That's typical main roster booking right there, in my honest opinion. But Keith Lee would get the win, which was a bit of a surprise in my opinion. But Keith Lee get the win, and Johnny Gargano did it the Johnny Gargano way, and that's lose. That's the Gargano way, always losing. That's the Johnny Gargano way. Next we had Adam Cole and Velveteen Dream in a backlot brawl. More cinematic matches. I just do not like cinematic matches. I just do not like them at all. I didn't like the one at WrestleMania with Undertaker and AJ Styles. I didn't like the one with Bray Wyatt and John Cena at WrestleMania. I didn't like the one with Gargano and Ciampa with the final beat. Maybe theirs was slightly better, but I didn't like it. Probably the only one I probably enjoyed was probably Money in the Bank. Not because it's a main roster show. I felt like it. Not because it's a main roster event. I just thought maybe that was slightly better. I just thought it was slightly better. But I'm just not a fan of these cinematic matches. To me, they're just not really much of anything. And it's very odd that WWE has been doing a lot of them lately. It's very weird that WWE has been doing a lot of them lately. And just like with Keith Lee's match, with Mia Yim and Candice LeRae getting involved, meaning nothing, Roderick Strong and Bobby Fish got involved in this match, and that meant nothing either. They came out, they just started throwing a whole bunch of chairs in the ring. And then Dexter Lumis, a very creepy and a very weird looking dude, he was under the ring. And he would chase off Bobby Fish and Roderick Strong. And you thought that would have been enough. And you think that would have been the calling point of the end of Adam Cole's reign. But Adam Cole would still somehow retain. And Velveteen Dream is never getting another shot at the NXT Championship. I think this means one thing. There's been a rumor going around that certain amount of names of superstars are heading up to the main roster. And Velveteen Dream's name was on that list. So that tells me one thing. Velveteen Dream must be on his way to the main roster. He must be on his way up to the main roster along with Chelsea Green, Dominic Dijakovic, and maybe possibly somebody else. Because there's been a rumor going around that Vince McMahon has been wanting a lot more call-ups. Next up is Karrion Kross and Tommaso Ciampa. Karrion Kross would end up getting the win here, which is not really much of a surprise at all. This one was kind of expected. Karrion Kross, he's fine. I'm not going to criticize him. This is the first match I've seen. He's okay. I'm not going to bash his in-ring skill because it's the first time I've seen him. They're building him up as a beast, as a monster, and I'm fine with that. I'm fine with them building him up like that. If that's how they want to build him up, that's fine. I'm fine with them building him up as a legitimate threat to the NXT division. So we'll see where they go from there. So Tommaso Ciampa fell and prey to Doomsday. And then our main event was a triple threat match. Charlotte Flair, everybody's favorite female superstar, by the way. Everybody's favorite. Everybody loves good old Charlotte Flair. Everybody loves her. She takes on Rhea Ripley and Io Shirai. It was a very good triple threat. I enjoyed it. Charlotte Flair did her role very well here. And I personally enjoyed this match. I loved the super riptide off the top rope to Charlotte Flair. That looked really good. I personally loved that spot. And everybody expected, and you know how I just told you guys of the list of main roster call-ups? Io Shirai's name was on the list of call-ups. So everybody was thinking, well, maybe not everybody. Everybody was wanting Io Shirai to win, but people like me and a couple of other people who have seen the list of call-ups that were coming were thinking, okay, so Io must be in this match to eat the pin, and then she's on her way up to the main roster. Surprisingly, no. Io Shirai actually wins this match. Charlotte Flair had the figure 8 locked in, and Io Shirai would do the moonsault off the top rope while Charlotte Flair's legs were trapped in Io Shirai's leg with Io Shirai because she locked Charlotte locked Rhea Ripley in the figure 8, and her legs were stuck because she couldn't break out. And because of that, Io Shirai was able to pin Rhea Ripley. Was able to pin Rhea Ripley to become the NXT Women's Champion. Charlotte Flair once again has another short title run. She once again goes in the role as transitional champion, just passing the title on to somebody else. That's kind of Charlotte's role now, I guess. Become the champion, drop it a month later to the next big star. I guess that's Charlotte's role now, I guess. Charlotte Flair really needs time away. In my opinion, she really needs time away. She really needs to go on a vacation for at least a couple of months. Maybe good 3 to 4 months. But it doesn't seem like we're going to be getting that anytime soon. But Io Shirai is now the champion, so that now means Io Shirai is not coming up to the main roster. I think it's now going to be Rhea Ripley. I think Rhea Ripley is now going to be that call-up that was supposed to be Io Shirai. Chelsea Green was another one that I heard was coming up. So, who knows? Who knows what happens? But overall, well done to Io Shirai. I personally think this was the biggest surprise of them all. Like I said, I really didn't think this takeover was all that fantastically good. It was a good show, but I personally didn't enjoy it. I thought the show just felt lifeless. I just didn't really find anything good out of it. If you guys enjoyed the show, that's perfectly fine. Everybody has a different opinion. If you thought it was the greatest thing you've ever seen, then that's perfectly fine. I personally didn't really enjoy the show all that much. I felt like the women's main event, to me, kind of really brought it back. Because I thought Io Shirai winning was a bit of a surprise. I thought that was probably the only time I was actually genuinely surprised. Everything else in the show, I kind of wasn't all that surprised. But anyway, that's all I've got for you guys in this NXT Takeover In Your House review. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hit that thumbs up. Comment your opinions on the show down below. Subscribe. And I'll see you all tomorrow for my Raw review. See you then.